Our special offer for this week is the very fitting download of They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll. This is an expose of the music industry that is a must-watch for adults down to teens. Find out how rock's most popular artists have sold their souls for rock and roll. In this mind-blowing expose, Pastor Joe Schimmel reveals just how Satan has been effectively using popular music to undermine God's plan for the family and ultimately heralding the coming of the Antichrist and his kingdom on earth. Once again, just go to counterculturemom.com, click on the store tab, and you will find They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll, the 3-hour MP4 download. At checkout, use code TINA15, TINA15, no spaces, to get 15% off your total order from that store. Here's to a whole different angle to the hot topic of AI. Chris Goswami brings us 3 perspectives in one. He's a former Silicon Valley tech consultant, a UK-based Baptist minister, and an award-winning Christian blogger. In 2023, he founded the AI Christian Partnership to help Christians engage with artificial intelligence in a way that's wise, faith-filled, and practical. Chris is a minister and writer focused on how AI is reshaping the church and society. He leads the AI Christian Partnership, where he believes AI can be a powerful tool for ministry, but only when used in ways consistent with Christian values. This is the Counterculture Mom Show. I'm your host, Tina Griffin. Artificial intelligence is our hot theme of the week. I'm with founder of AI Christian Partnership, Chris Goswami. Chris, how you doing today?
It's really good to be with you, Tina. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Oh, yes. Now, you're about 2 hours away from London, I believe you said, up in the UK?
Yeah, a couple of hours drive. So Liverpool, Manchester, they are half an hour's drive for me. That's pretty much where I am.
That's just so fun. I wish I could have done this interview in person. I love London. We went there last summer with the kids. It was an absolute fantastic time. And of course, I love everybody out there with their accent. I think you guys got a hip accent.
Well, you're going to get 20 minutes of this accent. That's for sure.
I can't wait. How did you go from Silicon Valley? Did you live here in Silicon Valley in the US and then
No,
move to
so
London?
basically, I worked for a UK tech company. We got acquired by a company in Redwood City, California.
Oh,
And then
yes.
I spent like 12 to 13 years working for them. Then we got acquired by somebody else. I was there a few more years. So I had a team in Silicon Valley, a communications team. I was VP of communications. So I
Wow.
spent a lot of time there, but I lived here. I reckon I probably lived for about 2 years of my life. Spent 2 years of my life in the US without ever actually living there.
Unbelievable. Well, thank you for your service in this whole wild topic of AI. I wanted to get in the mix someone with a different perspective or how to help us parents navigate AI, because AI to me is very scary. It's hard to wrap my brain around. And yet I know we can't just tell our kids, you can't touch it, can't use it. It's going to be absolutely, right now it's taking over the world. So we have to address it. So I wanted to get you in the mix before we got 1,000 emails this week saying, hey, my kids want to use AI. What do I do to navigate this beast? You're going to help us with that. Why should Christian parents be paying attention to AI right now?
Well, okay, so a lot of what we talk about today is actually summarized in an article on the homepage of the 7 Minutes website, so you'll see that later. But I
Okay.
think the answer is partly in what you said, Tina, that AI is all around us. You can't simply say, let's not use it. It's like saying, let's not use the internet.
Mhm.
AI is becoming ambient. It's almost in the air we breathe. It's in our devices, our phones, our laptops, our smart speakers, and much more. And I think it's almost like in the Industrial Revolution, which actually started very near to me in the UK in the 19th century, where muscle power was replaced by machines.
Mm.
We're now in an equivalent revolution where brain power is being replaced by machines.
Mm.
And our faith needs to be real. So we need to be able to say something about such a disruptive trend.
For parents wanting to keep a handle on AI, where and what can they do to make sure they know what is coming out to be ahead of the curve so their kids aren't negatively impacted by AI?
Okay, so there's a couple of things here. I think we've all come to this point, haven't we, where we're amazed by what AI can do, but we're also pretty worried about what AI might do. And I think when we think about young people, about teens and young people in their 20s, they are really at the front end of that for 2 or 3 reasons. One is that they are already using that tech stuff that we might be looking at or thinking about. They're already there. And secondly, they are uniquely vulnerable. I was having a conversation with the CEO of Youthscape, which is a youth training organization here in the UK. And he was showing me how young people these days always top the charts in loneliness surveys. So how
Yes.
lonely. Now that's actually, that's surprising to most people because naturally we think the very elderly, would be the loneliest demographic, the loneliest sector in society. But that's not the case. It's actually young people. And because they are lonely, they are more vulnerable. And so, for example, somebody in their 80s or 90s may be very lonely, but they're not going to engage with an AI companion. A young person might do that. So there are positives and there are negatives for young people. Some of the positives that, for example, there's personalized learning. AI can be a great tutor, working at your speed, giving you the examples you want, infinitely patient. AI can help kids prepare for a career. Can help you. It can interview you, give you fake interviews, mock interviews. It can also help us young people to develop discernment. And as we go through this conversation, we'll talk more about discernment. And there's a real case for discernment here for developing digital citizenship and critical thinking. So there are positives. I want to say that up front, and we should not neglect those. At the same time, there are concerns and there are negatives, and some of these, many of these we've heard about, right? So I'll just summarize a few of these. So there was a case in the US actually early in 2025. I think the young person was called Sean Sewell or something like that. And he was a teenager, 14, 15 years old, went onto a website. I think it was
Yes.
Character AI or Replica AI, one of those
Yes.
websites. And he developed a character based on a Game of Thrones heroine. And this was an immersive experience for him, right? This was quite seductive. It wasn't like ChatGPT where you ask a question and then wait for a reply. These websites build a whole world around you in which you're the hero. They are deeply immersive, and it's very hard as a young person if you're lonely or anxious. That can be very seductive. And so it's much easier for them to say to stay at home with an AI friend, for example, rather than going to the youth group or the church fellowship. So there's that big concern. Then there's also the concern of cheating. We want to develop kids who are authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's hard when your friends at school are all using AI. That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to keep a handle on it. I cannot even believe that you mentioned the story with the young 14-year-old here in the US, because that's exactly what's going on. There's a lawsuit that claims the character AI is responsible for teen
Mm,
suicide. It's all over the news.
mm,
And that literally is the story that I was going to ask you about. So for everybody out there that's not familiar with
mm,
it, this link will be in the show notes.
mm,
But there's a
mm,
lawsuit that claims the character AI is responsible for teen suicide. And it has a lot of people up in arms because after this AI character that I believe he did create at 14 years old, they broke up. I don't even know how that's all possible. This 14-year-old real person committed suicide. So we have to be alert and aware. Chris, there's so much more to dissect. We're going to be back to talk with you more on how we can navigate AI in today's teen culture right after this.
You lost faith in the government's ability to make sound financial decisions. Our economy, banking system, and the US dollar are failing. How do you protect your wealth in economic times like these? Gold offers protection that paper can't. Unlike stocks and other paper assets, gold is real, has never gone to zero, and has no counterparty risk. Gold has more than doubled in the last 5 years, and many experts are predicting that gold prices are going to continue to rise for many reasons. There are lots of gold companies out there these days, so compare prices and credibility. Call Wholesale Direct Metals now for great service and lower prices. We're a Better Business Bureau A-rated discount gold dealer with 0 complaints nationwide.
Call now and request free information. 1-866-925-6626. Ask about using your IRA to buy precious metals. Call 1-866-925-6626 now and protect yourself with gold.
During these uncertain times, communication is critical. Make sure you can get in touch with your family and friends anytime, anywhere. Introducing Rapid Radios, the #1 trusted source for staying connected worldwide. Our professional-grade walkie-talkies provide crystal-clear conversations and are 256-bit encrypted, ensuring ultimate privacy with unlimited range and 5 days of battery life. Unlike cell phones, our radios are not trackable or traceable. Best yet, there's no setup required. They're ready to use right out of the box. No contracts and no monthly fees. Don't delay. Get your radios today and use code TINA at checkout to save 10% at rapidradios.com. That's 10% off using code TINA at rapidradios.com. Free shipping for a limited time only. Whether you're at home or abroad, stay connected with confidence.
Chris, I know you mentioned a couple of these already for ways that AI affects teens, but what should we be most concerned about when it comes to AI in our teens' lives, as in cheating, job fears, or radicalization?
Yeah, so, there's three big ones right there. And so I haven't spoken about radicalisation, but it's super easy now for people to generate fake videos, fake news, and for people to change the truth. And there are so many examples out there. So just last year, I think in the US, in Florida, in the Florida floods, there were fake images of Donald Trump saving kids and saving puppies, right? Now, whatever you think of Donald Trump, the images were fake. And one of the US politicians who was circulating these images actually was challenged and said, these images are fake. And her reply was very worrying and chilling. Her reply was, I know these images are fake, but that doesn't matter because they are emblematic of what Donald Trump would do. So what she's saying is, this is what he would do in this situation. Therefore, that's true. But as Christians, if we believe Jesus is the truth, then truth matters. And we can't have our kids growing up thinking, actually, if it might be true, then it's true. That's simply not the case. You mentioned another one, fear of the future. So just it's increasingly worrying for kids to think, what job am I going to do that isn't already being done by AI? There was a cartoon here in a UK newspaper a few months ago of two young people sitting on a garden gate. They were just kids, and one was saying to the other, when you grow up, what job do you want AI to do for you? Right?
Wow.
So,
It's so wild. Everybody out there, watch all 4 episodes on AI this week, because all different guests talk about all different sides of AI. We had Jeff Hillies on this week talking about how millions of jobs are being lost as we speak because of AI replacing us humans. So it is getting scary. However, we're going to talk about some positive things about AI. Can AI be used for good in a family home, and if so, how?
For sure. And to some extent, we have to get our arms around this because AI is going to be all around us. So I'll start by saying there are probably now hundreds of Christian apps based on AI. But we need to be careful with these apps. We don't know where many of them are coming from. And I've engaged, for example, on several AI apps to do with the Bible. And I've asked questions like, where did you come from? Where does this information come from? And they're giving answers like, a very generous group of Christians made this app. That's not good enough. So you need to know where this stuff's coming from. But there are apps out there. There are devotional apps. There are apps being used for evangelism. There was an app here in the UK, which is some years ago now, that was called Who is Jesus? And it was a bot. And the research says that 150 people through that app came to know Jesus and became part of local churches. And that part's really important. So there are great apps out there. What I would say is, before you start using a Christian app for devotional, for family prayers, for whatever it is, make sure you know where it's come from. Who wrote this app?
Yes.
Do you know who wrote it? Do you trust them? That's incredibly important. Then the second principle I'll talk about is how do we learn to use AI well? And a couple of things there I'd say, which I try to use in my own work, which is use AI to critique what you do, not create what you do.
I
Right?
love that. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. Use AI to critique what we do, not create what we do. That needs to be on a t-shirt all over the place, because my main worry as a mom, I have 4 kids that are teenagers
Yeah.
that have great giftings and talents from God, but AI is coming in. Why have a
Yeah.
songwriter or a person that
Yeah.
writes poetry or a book when you can have AI do it for you, which is horrific, because then
Yeah.
our children and we are being replaced creatively by a robot. That is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
really, really
So
alarming.
when your kids have got an essay to write or an assignment to complete, we need to train them to actually, you need to develop the skills as well to write this assignment, write the assignment or the essay, and then do what I do with my sermons. I write my sermons, but after the sermon, after I've written it, I will say to AI, is this understandable? Can you help me get this down to 2,000 words? Do you think a congregation will struggle with these concepts? And use it to improve yourself. Always make sure there's a human in the loop. You need
Yes.
to make sure that there's a person in the loop. If you hand over this stuff, if it starts to look like magic, that's where you're in trouble.
Yeah. And then the other wild thing is when you say make sure there's a human in the mix, so many of our young people today, when 4% approximately of our youth here in America believe that Jesus even exists, we have a minuscule amount of humans, if we still keep one human in the mix, of AI generated content that still might have a very disruptive, backwards Christian worldview, if a Christian worldview at all. So basically, we just compounded the problem by having AI now get in the mix, unless we do what you're suggesting to do. But it's going to be a wild world to be walking in. What does our faith say about AI? Is it something we should reject or engage with differently?
So we've already said, you can't just stay away from this. So how do we engage with AI? How do we, I would say, how do we tie worldly things that change so fast to gospel principles that do not change? And I think the Christian faith has impactful things to say here. So, for example, I have found in secular conversations about AI, the conversation often becomes spiritual, because people who are not Christians are also interested. Hey, if AI is so clever, if it can do all this stuff, if it's becoming conscious, what's the difference
Right.
between the humans and the Christian faith? Has some great answers there. So first of all, let's talk about the real differences between humans and AI. First of all, AI has no values of its own. AI will suck up whatever values it can find in whatever data it can find. But our values of love, of charity, of generosity, of humility, they are human values. Secondly, AI has no subjective experiences. AI has no idea what an ice cream tastes like, or the smell of a flower. And then there are some specific Christian differences between humans and AI, which only the Christian faith has, actually. First of all, AI does not share our human fragility. Now, at the center of our gospel is the idea that we are fallen as humans. We do things wrong, and that makes us wonderfully human, that I
Right.
make mistakes. That's why Jesus came. That's part of but the AI idea is AI should be perfect. AI will be
Right.
perfect. And then the last thing I'd say there, which I think is probably the clincher, is the imago Dei, or what theologians call the imago Dei, which is the image of God. The image of God is only given to men and women, to boys and girls. God will only have a relationship with boys and girls. There's a guy here in the UK who runs an institute called the Centre for the Study of Existential Risks. Right? He's a secular guy, and he has said that the only reason that we're in charge of this planet is not because we're faster or smarter or stronger than other animals. It's only because we're smarter. But now our unique smartness is being handed over to machines, right?
Correct.
But he's wrong. That is not the thing that makes us human, because there are humans with learning difficulties, and they're still human. It's not about being smart. It's about having the image of God, and every person on this planet, whether they are Christian or not, has that. And we can do things to deface it, to try and rub away at the edges, but it's always there. And I think that these are wonderful truths which are reassuring to people who are not Christians,
Right.
why we are different.
Yeah, this is so well said. It's just, I'm thinking of like 15 more things I want to ask you. We're going to go to a short commercial break. When we come back, we're going to find out from Chris how moms can start meaningful conversations about AI with their kids. More with Chris right after this. Have you been feeling a little off lately? Many of us have. The crazy thing is, you're not sick, you're being poisoned. GMOs, glyphosates, heavy metals, microplastics, nanobots, and graphene oxide in vaccines. These toxins are everywhere. But there is a solution that detoxifies and goes after the root of the problem, with all natural ingredients that work at the nano and cellular levels. It's called Masterpiece. This organic formula has 2 natural ingredients, zeolite and sea plasma, both powerfully structured together. The clinical studies are unmatched, and they've got thousands of testimonials with incredible stories. One user said, "Phenomenal product. I've only been taking it for a week and my energy levels are through the roof." To get Masterpiece, just go to masterpiecebyhcs.com. That's Master, P-E-A-C-E, by hcs.com, or click on the link below. Enter code TINA at checkout to get our special pricing. It's literally $1 a day. Let's ditch the poison. If you're a busy mom like me, juggling kids, home life, and everything in between, you know healthcare is a huge decision. What's worked for me and my family for over a decade? MediShare. Over the years, I've had all 4 of my kids with MediShare, gone through 2 major surgeries, and never once stressed about the bills being paid. MediShare is affordable, saving us up to 50% compared to other healthcare options. And I love knowing our money never ends up supporting things that don't align with our values. MediShare offers 24/7 access to telehealth services as well. Have a sick kid in the middle of the night? Not a problem. They've got your back. So if you're looking for healthcare that fits your family and your values, I can't recommend MediShare enough. Call today at 1-866-88-BIBLE and be sure to mention Counterculture Mom when you enroll. That's 1-866-88-BIBLE. And join the thousands of families like mine who found healthcare that truly cares about what matters most. AI is quickly becoming a part of our world in every angle, every facet that I can look at. And as a mom who's concerned about what's going on in our culture, I can barely keep a grasp on it nor understand it. And my kids are catching on faster to what it is than even me. So what would you tell moms who want to start meaningful conversations about AI with their kids without needing to be experts on it?
Well, the good news is that you don't have to be an expert in AI to talk meaningfully to your kids about AI. So AI is helpful, but it is not relational. Parenting is relational. And if we just think back for a second to that company that's being sued, one of those companies, AI character companies, has as their slogan, always on your side, right? Always on your side, but always on your side isn't the same as love, right? So my advice to parents is start the conversation. And there are 2 levels of this conversation you can have with your kids, and you don't have to be an expert. So just start with the questions, what do you think is good about AI? What do you think is dangerous about AI? How are your friends using AI? What's a really great thing you've seen AI do? And what's the worst thing? How do you work out on the internet if something is deep fake or not? So ask those opening questions, start the conversation, and I will guarantee that kids, even if you value the conversation more than you having all the answers, right? So get into the conversation. And then the second level, I think, is to get into the detail and then say, well, let's talk about bias, confirmation bias, because the whole internet works by confirmation bias, which is basically, it keeps our eyes glued on stuff that it thinks we like. And AI is the same. It's very narcissistic. It will flatter you. It will tell you what it thinks you want to hear. Talk about bias. Learn to question how some of these AI-generated posts or make you feel. So if you receive a post, on Instagram or whatever it is, that makes you very angry or very gossipy, don't just forward it on because it might be fake. Think, why is this? Where's the hook here? Am I being pulled into something? So these level of conversations we can have.
You have your blog at 7minutes.net. That's the number 7minutes.net. What can we find on this phenomenal research-based website?
It's for thinking Christians, as it says there. And this is a site for any Christians who want to think about issues. So there's the one about teens and AI. There's something there about Donald Trump. And if you scroll some articles around Easter. This is all original content, and generally I publish this stuff elsewhere. So some of the UK sites like Premier Christianity, some of the US publishers like Christianity Today have published some of this stuff.
I love
But
it.
I keep it all together here.
Chris, thank you so much. Everybody out there, share these episodes with the masses. And if you want to support our cause, just go to counterculturemom.com and click on the pink donate button, top of the page. Every dime coming in is going to help us air this episode further out to more people around this globe. Chris, excellent work. Hope we get to meet you here face to face. You never know, I might be heading your direction.